So the last thing I want to talk about is in relation to us and the Quran. Now, one of the things that we have to begin to do is really to understand that this was the miracle that Allah sent to guide us. And so you've got to develop a personal relationship with the Quran. No matter what level you're at, if you're right now sitting here, you don't know how to read any Arabic. You might not even own a copy of the Quran. You need to begin somewhere. And of course, the first step would be to try to get a copy. You can download an app, that on your phone. But you have to begin to develop and cultivate a relationship with the Quran. Because, as I said, the Quran is not only a mercy, it's a healing, it's guidance. And so as a Muslim, we need to have as much knowledge about this Quran. Now, it is preferable when you're going to begin your journey with the Quran that you find a copy. And I would prefer you use a physical copy rather than an app. There's something special about having the same mushaf that you go to every day. So find one that you're very comfortable with, that has English and Arabic, and so that you could have, and if you need recommendation, you can email me, I can make some recommendation to you. So you have this one Quran. I have a pictorial which I had it from since I was a little boy, and I still have it with me. It's beaten up, dog-eared, but that Quran gives me comfort when I hold it. I had it so many years, and every time I touch it, it's like being so familiar. So have the same mushaf. Secondly, you must make wudu when you go into the Quran. Show reverence. And that copy of the Quran, don't just treat it like the regular books. I don't mean you just kiss it and you worship it, but you put it in a clean place. You give it some sense of reverence and respect. When you go to recite the Quran, make sure you have wudu. Make the intention before you recite the Quran and say, "Oh Allah, please provide the guidance that this book has so that my heart may be guided." You ask Allah to open your heart to be able to receive the Quran. An interesting thing about the Quran is that it only gives you to what you are able to take. So you may read an ayah, and you will see people say that. I read this ayah all my life, and then I didn't really understand too much about it, but then something happened in my life, and when I read it back, it's like it is the answer to my question. That's what happened to Umar ibn Khattab. When the Prophet died, he went around telling, "No, the Prophet can't die. Anybody say Prophet died, I'm going to kill them," walking around until the ayah was read to him, that the Prophet was just a man and he will pass. And Umar said, "I read that ayah so many times. But when you mentioned it now, it was like if for the first time I'm seeing it." So the Quran reveals itself to you based on your level. And so and that's why you will never exhaust the wisdom of the Quran. And it will continue to provide solutions to a problem that may not even occur right now, 20 years from now, because the way the Arabic language is constructed, the Arabic language provides meanings and special meanings to the words that continue to be relevant. You should develop a habit of reading the Quran every day. This is something that as a Muslim, if this is my guidance, I want to be guided every day. So I want to develop a routine to pick it up daily. And I would suggest you do it by time instead of saying I'm going to read 10 verses a day, because some verses are long. I'm going to do 5 minutes a day. So you have a time limit. And you stop after 5 minutes, but you develop a routine to read the Quran every day. And as you do so, it will open itself to you. Now, in order to recite the Quran, it takes some level of skill and competence. And so in the madrasa, when we are growing up as young, we go to madrasa and we learn to recite. For some of us, we may have gotten it. For some, we don't. Don't give up on this project of learning to recite in Arabic. We run classes. We used to run classes where we teach people how to recite the Quran. I have a course in 9 lessons. You could learn to recite the Quran. And then there's something called tajweed, because for a lot of us, we learn to recite, but not with tajweed. Tajweed is where it's a special science of understanding how to pronounce which letters to stretch, what are the different ways in which you have to pronounce the the verse. And so you've got to be able to reach the minimum level is to read the Quran with tajweed. We talk about saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim when you finish, when you begin the recitation of the Quran. It is also important that, you know, don't just read Arabic, read the meaning of the verse, ponder on it, ask yourself, what does this mean? How is this relevant to my life? What lesson can I take away from this? You know, what is one thing that I could gather from this few verses that would make an impact on my life? Now, when you first go to the Quran, it looks very confusing. It doesn't follow any regular book. You know, regular book have the story. You will go into the Quran, you will see Allah take a few verses, he's talking about one topic, and in the middle of it, he jumps to somewhere else. And so you will, how is it? I mean, you know, I'm in the middle of this one topic, he jumps to somewhere else, then later on he jumps back, and it looks very confusing to the layperson. How is this thing laid out? It don't seem to have any rhyme and reason and rhythm or nothing, you know. And so that's where the tafsir will help us to understand how Allah is doing this. Now, the Quran will contain many things. It will have stories of the prophets, it will have science, it will have history, it will have biology, it will cover multitude of topics, but it's not a science book. Its ultimate goal is to guide humanity to be able to reach their Lord. And so it is ultimately a book of guidance that is helping us to find Allah and to be able to live by His rules and regulations. And so the Quran have rules, it have directions, it have, you know, instructions, and there's so many things within it that allows us to be able to benefit from it. And so take the time every day to develop this special love for the Quran and cherish the moment when you're going to read a verse and try to figure out what it means, or even research. Go and look at it, tafsir, you know, and see what this verse means. And so we develop this attachment to the Quran, ta'alluq bil Quran, that we want to become a strong attachment to the Quran. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of us to understand. I hope this introduction, and this is just an introduction to the Quran, there's so many things which we did not talk about in relation to the Quran that maybe of a higher level. But for now, I just wanted you guys to get an idea of how to navigate the book and how to go inside, develop some ideas of developing an attachment. And if any one of you tonight, you know, make a decision that I'm going to try to read that book every day, then you would have made me happy, because that's the whole idea behind trying to engage with our book of Allah, the greatest miracle on the face of the earth. You know, it's better than any Shakespeare and anything that you could read. You know, it is difficult to go on Yawm al-Qiyamah and ask Allah and tell Allah that, you know, I didn't have time to recite your book. You know, and as I close, I want to mention, you know, the Prophet ﷺ tells us through a hadith of Aisha that that the Quran will be said to the companion of the Quran, that is you and I, read and elevate through the levels of paradise and beautify your voice as you used to do when you were in the dunya. For verily your position in the paradise will be the last verse you recite. This is a hadith in Abu Dawood and Tirmizi, and it's a Sahih hadith, in which it said, on the day when you're going to go, one of the things you'll be asked to do is to recite the Quran. As you recite, you'll be rising up into the levels of Jannah. And then wherever you're exhausted how much you know of the Quran, that's where you're going to stop, and that's the spot you're going to be occupying on the Day of Judgment. And so it is important for us to develop that relationship with the Quran. The Quran is a proof for you or against you. Hujja lak or alaik. And Allah raises some people by this book, and He lowers some people by the book. And the Prophet said the Quran is an intercessor. Something is given permission to intercede, and it is rightfully believed in. Whoever puts it in front of him, it will lead him to paradise. And whoever puts it behind him, it will steer him to the hellfire. And so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us to develop a very strong relationship with the Quran. If you don't know to recite, enroll in a class. If you don't know tajweed, enroll in a class. Don't give up and say, that's it. Strive to become minimally competent in relation to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you in your journey and help all of us to be able to do the things, recite the Quran, to be able to practice the Quran, to be able to share the Quran, to be able to live by it in the way we live our lives, inshallah, and to memorize the Quran, to have some of the Quran in our hearts, that we can memorize some of it. Assalamu alaikum. So